comrade, if you're asking whether I think I would say yes. However, is it a document that we would want to sign at this moment? I think that would be almost like putting the cat before the horse, because the charter appears to me like needs to be sort of concretized in terms of even the basic agreements that we have agreed that um, um, that it is organizations, political parties, the social justice centers, um, civil society organizations. If we make that agreement, that basic agreement, then those organizations that are representative made those basic agreements. Whether it's our working document, I think is a
May I, Comrade Njuki?
Thank you so much, comrade. I appreciate those the document. I have not read it very deeply, but now I'm now looking at it. But I think the big elephant in all our process and in the room is two questions: whether KTM evolves as a movement, but also as a united front, meaning that it can be able to recruit and hold membership collectively to be able to popularize the movements in the ground, but also the other idea, whether it is a grouping of movements that the space for those movements is what will entail this signing. So this signing here implies that it is individuals. But the question comes, if, for example, CPK members who are here, or even Ukweli Party who are here, or MGM, or even us, do we sign as individuals then to this form? Or do we sign as a collective body for CPK or those other parties? I think those are the big questions in the room. And I think we need to discuss a little bit more whether it is possible for and move forward for KLM itself to be both a movement which is based on, like what Buko was saying yesterday, people and individuals who are mobilizing in their own quarters, but also as a corporate body for movements. I think those are questions that we need to agree before we sign.
I think the mood and attitude I'm reading from those remarks is that yes, we have a membership commitment document that we can work with. I'll come to you. I think the hand came after the chair tried to summarize. I'll come to you, comrade. That we have a document that we can use as a membership commitment declaration and signage. But that there's still a discussion to be had on the place of the members that are going to sign here, individuals and also organizations. Basically the timing of the signing. I hear there's a question on that. There's also the issue that there are recommendations that were made yesterday that interim structures are going to take up to improve on the charter, and I wish that could we see that first before, because when we are signing this, it would be as a result of looking at the wholesome framework and instruments of KLM, so that it's not just a good faith signing, but it's basically signing that yes, I think they proved we need to come up with a minimum program of action. We have read them and we agree with them. They reflect what we discussed and what our contribution and stake and interest in this movement so that we don't sign it at this time. If we sign at this time, I think the sentiment I'm getting that it will be a good faith signing. But then hoping that everything that we said should be improved will be done so. And maybe it might not be a very tidy way to proceed. And I think the recommendation I'm hearing that was not made, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that we can agree that we have a sensible document to use, but that we can shelve the signing and declaration. Remember, huko chini kuna, it's not just something you sign. There's even a place where a commission of oaths will append their stamp. It's a legal document. Yeah? So we can have the text, but then we await the updating of our documents and declarations. And maybe what we are saying is, at the next convention, this can be tabled because all those other documents and structures will have been finished. As to the discussion about membership or organizational, I seek your indulgence that we subject that to debate, but in another forum. If we adopt that in between now and the next convention, we're getting together to debate, because no one is going to sit in a room and write the minimum program. It's something we need to discuss, to debate, and to negotiate, and we can advise on how we will do that. But that there are merits and demerits of having one type of membership. And I know there are already in here from yesterday's discussions, there are people who say, the individuals who are organizing, not through affiliation, but because of their community. But then there is also the argument that how do we hold you accountable? How do we hold individuals accountable if they don't come with the discipline of an organization? But there are also debates that belonging to an organization does not naturally and automatically bestow discipline. But yes, the organization can discipline you. But there can also be another argument that if someone is here as an individual, should they have a voting right, or maybe their categorization should be an observer or something else. All I'm saying, this is nuanced debate, which I doubt we can prosecute and conclude within the space and time that we have here. And if we can adopt it as a part of the clarification of the structures of KLM, and then we can subject it to a vote when we are properly constituted as delegates. Is the indulgence I will seek. The mood correctly. Have I preempted you? I don't give. Have I preempted you? I don't give. Have I preempted you? Have I preempted you? So I'll give you a chance, and then Buka, both of you make it very briefly. Then we switch to today's agenda. Very briefly, comrade.
Thank you very much. My name is Tom Kagwe. Comrades, how are you this morning?
Kagwe to the point, because we are running behind schedule. Just make your remarks straight to the point.
I have only 2 points.
Go ahead.
Number one, if we are discussing about national democratic transformation, or we are talking about national democratic revolution, we should be very clear. I saw Willy Mutunga on JKL. He was very clear. KLM is about total transformation of leadership, and I can see point number 5. I was given this document this morning. I read very fast. Point number 2, I think the charter requires some reduction.
Let me overrule you, comrade. We agreed with both points you're making yesterday. I think, follow through a bit, and then you can be in context.
Thank you.
Just allow me to overrule you because we had actually made those remarks yesterday.
Okay, sawa. Kama
Yeah.
mlisema jana, mimi sikuwa
Yeah.
nilikuwa mkutano
Yeah.
mwingine.
So maybe follow through a bit,
It's
alafu
fine.
you will immerse properly.
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Sorry to have to do that, but you'll get back in.
I just have one suggestion that maybe to make sense of this Kongamano, we can actually make some resolutions towards the next Kongamano based on the discussions we had yesterday and the spirit of today's. So that means if it is one concrete decision is that we are expanding the ideological committee, then that's one. And then we determine the next thing is amendment to the charter, the roadmap, and then we populate it. That's my proposal.
Thank you. And indeed, at the session where we'll be declaring our resolutions, that is actually the objective of the resolutions section. So we've been harvesting them yesterday, so we'll table them here and improve on them, and then we say this is what we are living with. So on that note, I'd like to switch to day 2. Thanks for that contribution and helping clarify. And this morning's session chair is Comrade Wanjira, whom I'd like to invite to stage to take us through today's session. And we'll have a number of speakers that she will introduce. So, Comrade Wanjira.
Asante sana, Comrade Nduko. Good morning, comrades. Wazalendo wenzangu. Habari ya asubuhi. Tumeanza on a low note kiasi. Lazima tuchangamke, lazima to invoke our patriotic spirit na uzalendo wetu to feel your energy, sindio? But before that, our comrade Mkawasi did not give us her speech yesterday. So naona tumalizie na hiyo sector because our comrades from diaspora ambao wanatufuata online wamekuwa on all this time. So I'd like us to give Mkawasi that opportunity. Tumsikize kwenye speech technical team. Get Mkawasi Mcharo ready for that speech, and then the social justice movement, my comrades, mkwe standby pia to fill this room with a revolutionary spirit pia. Okay? So is the technical team ready? Okay. Karibu sana our comrade Mkawasi Mcharo from diaspora.
Asante sana dadangu, asanteni sana wenzangu, na msalimia nyinyi nyote. Hamjambo wa Kenya wenzangu, wageni mashuhuri na wazalendo wote wa Kongamano La Mageuzi. I'm really happy to be here. We are patient people. So if you told us to wait for a year to make a speech, we will wait, sitting in one place. I'm really glad to be here. Now, I know that today is a day for the history books to come. We're converging here at the launch of a political awakening that is, for the first time, including the community of Kenyans abroad. Now, this is a community that has grown to a known number. At about 3 million people, but now it's beginning to give birth to second, third generation Kenyans. It's just enough to know that there are lots of families. waiting on that echo to echo out, and then I continue. So I suppose if I hear the echo, you're hearing it too, so you don't miss anything. So what I was saying is that every other family in Kenya knows someone who lives outside the country. Now I'll give you a brief history. Human dispersal started from Africa about 10,000 years ago. Skip to the present, the last 60 years, and a wave of voluntary migration, mainly from a very young country then called Kenya, and from other newly liberated African countries started towards the United States through what was then the Kennedy airlifts. Now, this wave of Kenyans seek communities of Kenyans that settled in foreign lands. Migration leads to diasporas, and diasporas acquire a transnational identity. That is a trajectory that we need to have in mind. By the year 2000, the growing Kenyan community in the United States came to the realization that they too had become transnational people. In a stroke of visionary action, collective courage, and smart politics, we formed an organization that was called Kenyan Community Abroad. We called it KCA. It had branches in other countries, France, Germany, Australia. We had people in Canada, and it formed branches in different states of the US. As Kenyans who were living here, who were living abroad and investing heavily in Kenya, we understood the power and potential of dual citizenship. It wasn't something we talked about when we were in Kenya, but being here, it became something real. Our toil, our tears, our hopes, new ideas that we cultivated in foreign lands. All this we shared with our families, our friends, our communities, investors, media, government people in Kenya. See, that connection just never came to an end. It's something that we knew was going to continue going on. And so we set off to have our government recognize our rights and responsibilities as Kenyan citizens, no matter where we live. On behalf of thousands of Kenyans globally, a diaspora that had signed the petition for dual citizenship, KC had sent 2 delegates to Bomas to represent us in the constitution-making process. This is an important piece of history, knowing that the diaspora was decision-making. The dual citizenship was a really hard sell, even for the most visionary legislators. But our game was right, our message was right, and we won the fight. In later years, other diaspora organizations formed the right to vote as enshrined in the People's Constitution. Diaspora voter suppression has been part of the political cartel's game to mute the voices of a powerful constituency of Kenyans, and it is still going on. And something we need to stop. This background is important in explaining why we are excited about Kongamano La Mageuzi. See, when Kongamano says, tekeleza katiba, this is a hard trenches to fight for our rights as Raia wa Kenya, no matter where we lived. The victory of the 2010 Constitution was the victory over being diminished by borders that had been etched out by imperial forces. We realized that we could actually be terrified of those within those borders of a landmass somewhere in East Africa because something greater than a map makes us so. And that's something that is greater is our Kenyan consciousness. It's our intangible identity. It's captured in our national symbols. See, when our flag, we don't fly it around, but we carry it on our arms. A lot of Kenyans in the diaspora wear these bracelets that have the flag. Our national food, ugali, nyama choma, sukuma wiki, we eat this at every cookout and share it with strangers. Our national pride, when we have marathons and rugby out in Las Vegas, we shout out loudly and we have everybody join us. And our national sense of humor, that's exceptional. It never fails us, especially when the pain of devious politics is too harsh to bear. now down to our children born in foreign lands. They too pass it down to generations so that Kenya becomes a living nation of all those who identify as Kenyan. I'll give you an example. See, we have generations of Irish people in America whose ancestors migrated there almost 200 years ago. They are forever proudly Irish, even those who have never set foot in Ireland. This is true of every diaspora that entrenches its national identity anywhere in the world. This is not nationalism, it's patriotism, uzalendo. And uzalendo moves us from victims to empowered citizens. We are no longer the victims of colonial theft and violence. Our freedom fighters brought us out of that bondage. So we must stop dwelling on what Wabeberu did to us and look instead at what we are doing to each other and what our leaders are doing to us. We are citizens ready and able to beat back the string of betrayals that came after independence. It demands that we build a new way of engaging in politics. This is the new DNA we are talking about, the new political mutation that we need to create. For diaspora Kenyans, our challenge is to take up new courage. Here's what it is. We have to come out of the small nests of splintered ethnic nationalism and dare to become politically mature as Kenyans with global exposure. We already have the economic power base, the intellectual might, and the constitutional right to become far greater than our wildest dreams. We do not have to give up our diversity as Kenyans, but we need to forge a common goal, the same way we did leading up to 2010. We must care about Kenyan politics. This is something we argue about all the time. Why should I care? I'm way over here. I send enough money home. Oh, okay. Now, this is why we must care. Our march talked about remittances, which now stand at over 250 billion shillings annually. It goes to school fees, hospital bills, landlords, charity, small investments, mafuta ya taa, unga, ugali, new shoes, all those for people in Kenya. How then can we not care about Kenya's education system, healthcare, housing rights, job creation, security? That's where our money goes. We have a responsibility to ensure that the fruit of our labor is used to build enduring systems, so we do not keep sinking our hard-earned money into a pit of corruption. Let us not be afraid to demand to sit at the tables of leadership and influence policy, and to vote in those who will make a difference in Kenya, because our big sweat is already mixed up in there, in that country's soil. Here's the best part. For the first time in Kenya's history, a coalition of the most able, brave, and trustworthy Kenyans has involved the diaspora as equal partners right from the beginning. Kongamano La Mageuzi is open to diaspora organizations to join them and build Kenya the way we dream of it. It would be neglectful of me right now as I speak not to mention some specific diaspora people who have brought us to where we are right now. We have Dr. Roslyn Akombe for her tireless recruiting efforts, her unfailing guidance at every meeting. Dr. Nathan Wangusi for your selfish giving of your knowledge, patiently providing intellectual seed for structures that we hope will move us from issue-based politics. We have Chris Wamalwa, who has been giving us a platform, the best one yet, which is Diaspora Live Show, to think out our uncensored ideas. David Ogega, of the Association of the Kenyan Diaspora Organization, he took the first step in seeking affiliation with Kongamano. So we're not talking about a dream. We're talking about people who have already taken that first step. And that is regardless of the organization, my dear people in the diaspora. Whether yours is an investment group in Atlanta, church in Minnesota, a non-profit in somewhere in the UK, a students organization in China, or somewhere in South Africa, a community center in Germany, we can all take that courageous step into political maturity and test new waters. We're strong enough to cast our nets into the if we aim out to sea. I understand the comfort of cultural familiarity and obligation that we get from ethnic questioning. I too want to be among my Taita people and sing my Taita songs. So we do not have to surrender that. But let us seize the call to political maturity and the courage to connect as Kenyans and make history together. You know, as we speak, we are commemorating World Human Rights Week, and at the same time witnessing violent eviction of thousands of Kenyans, the young and the old. They have known no other home, and all they can do is wail powerlessly. The neglect of our people is stifling, and it's unacceptable. Our politics and the thugs in it have betrayed us over and over again. We have no choice but to take up the wail of the frail, turn it into action, and evict all those corrupt, rotten cartels in politics. We will do this through the power of the vote. We will build a system where no elections official and nobody's daughter will be slaughtered and silenced in order to win an election. Let our children and their children's children, generations to come, inherit from us an enduring foundation of siasa safi. Finally, to all Wazalendo, sitting here, listening somewhere abroad, may we borrow the words of Mandela. We can appropriate them this way. During our lifetime, we shall dedicate ourselves to the struggle of Kenyan people. We will fight against new forces of imperialism and against devious dynastic domination by our own people. We will cherish the ideal of a democratic and free and with equal opportunity. It is an ideal for which we hope to live for and to see realized. But if needs be, it is an ideal for which we are prepared to die. These are the words that we are borrowing from Shujaa Mandela. May we be courageous enough to sail into those deep seas of nation building as he did, to confront the sharks that prey and kill, and to make Kenya a secure and prosperous home for all of us. Nawashukuru sana kwa siku hizi mbili za kongamano hii. Siku nzuri sana, tumefurahi, nashukuru sana. Asanteni.
Comrade Mkawasi Mchawaro, I deeply apologize for the technical hitches. I'm sure we have officially started Day 2 of Kongamano La Mageuzi National Convention. My name is Wanjera, for those of you who are seeing me for the first time. Chuki na ukabila hatutaki hata kamwe, tuijenge. Ako wapi DJ? Cheza bana. Umoja ni fahari yetu, undugu ndiyo nguvu. Chuki na ukabila hatutaki hata kamwe, tuijenge nchi yetu. Si lazima tu
long live our struggle, long live. Long live freedom fighters, long live. Long live new generation of resistance, long live. Long live Javan the poet, long live. Long live the social justice center freedom fighter, long live. Forward with the convention of Kongamano.